Wow, Charles made it. I know he was busy this afternoon. Amazing he got back. Okay, so I just saw this a couple minutes ago from Chase. I don't know if you guys know Chase. He is the head of the LGBTQ effort nationally, and he was talking about the effort that went on in Texas. And I thought it was appropriate for this meeting too, where he's saying about fighting back against all forms of government violence requires people to hold, do so much. What is vital is that we recognize that systemic change and transformation requires collective work and care. There are no singular heroes or strategies, and then we fight and win together. And I guess I also wanted to mention, I'm really getting struck recently about the long-term effort this is going to be in terms of fighting for our democracy. I keep looking at Ukraine and how it's striking me how this isn't going to go away now or 2024 or probably anytime soon, which is going to play into my last slide, which is why I'm bringing that up. So this is the introduction part. We might be worthwhile going around a little bit. Well, we'll see if I got a couple more minutes. And we're going to talk about a couple of petition drives. Julie's going to talk about the one for reproductive freedom for all. And then we're going to hear about Promote the Vote. That's one Voters Not Politicians is pushing for volunteers to go after. Vicky's going to talk a little bit about voting rights advocacy. And then Charles is going to give us an update on his efforts, what's going on with him with When You Vote, I Win. And lots going on with the GOTV game. I just wanted to give you folks an update on that too. It's my product. That last one in particular, it's not going to require anything from you. It's just to keep you in the loop right now. So I wanted to talk for just a minute or two about possibly changing the name of the group. And I love this Gertrude Stein quote as well as the poem itself. But I don't know that we're ever going to go back to Northwest UU on a in-person basis. I think this Zoom thing works so well. And so that's on my mind. We've got now a couple of websites that are associated with us that are both have the name GOTVMI. I'm going to, as you're going to hear in my last slide, I'm going to create a 501c3 to support the game. And if I can get the name GOTVMI, I figure that's as good a name as any for that effort and has enough breadth to it that it can kind of incorporate almost anything in terms of voting. So just giving you a heads up, I'm not going to pull the trigger until I know that 501c3 name can wherever it lands will influence us someone too. But if anybody has a real problem with that, with changing the name or anything, which I'd be surprised, but if you do, then let me know before we actually, pull the trigger on it and then have you be sitting off there in the corner pissed off. I don't want that. So I don't know if anybody wants to speak to that right offhand, or may we go around the virtual room and make sure everybody knows everybody else who's on the call. I'm not hearing anything, so let me why don't we do that? Go around the room. I think well, yeah, so that Kathy knows who all is here. That's probably the best thing. So Kathleen, can you start? You're at the top of my screen on the left.
Sure. Hi, I'm Kathleen McNellis. I'm Scott's life partner and have been part of this effort since he began to be part of this effort back in early 2017. Kathy, welcome today.
Yeah, I guess I'll say that this has been an ongoing effort associated with the ACLU since 2017, as Kathleen just said. I've been leading it since then. Kathy, you're the next one on my at the top of my screen, so I might as
Can
well.
we get a full screen of everybody who's here?
That's a good idea. That's a
See who
great.
we're talking to?
Yes, sir. Let me stop sharing. Now I'm going to lose track. Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
Hi, I'm Kathy Krauskopf. I'm from Voters Not Politicians, and I am the co-field coordinator with Christine Allen, and also leading a team in Huntington Woods and Oak Park as we get ready to start collecting signatures
Great.
to promote the vote.
Next one on the list that I see is Kubats.
For some reason, we can't get our picture to show. Anyway, I don't know what we're doing wrong here.
It's okay.
But anyway, this is Melba Kubat, and we're in Florida and just had a really bad storm, but skies are clearing up.
Tornado watch.
Right, yeah. But we've been around since about 2017 as well.
Yep.
And yeah, just keeping busy.
Love the work. Got to get out that vote. And we're looking to help Charles with his presentations, and we want to present also.
Awesome. Warner.
Yeah, I'm Warner Mack. My Wi-Fi seems to be working now. I called Huawei, and they said it was a problem with my computer, but after I called them, it seems to have improved. So draw your own conclusions.
Okay. All right. I'm going to skip the next couple of people on the list because they're presenting. Concetta. You're muted.
And let me just have a picture.
There.
Hi, I'm getting on late here. I don't know what I've been working with you guys for a couple years. My People Power program in Northwest Goldberg, and just glad to be here. Thank you.
Great. Fred.
Yeah, hi, it's Fred Green. I'm with People Power, and I'm also with My Right to Vote. We have a couple constitutional amendments out there.
Excellent. David? David Young?
Unmute, sorry. Dave Young, friend of Scott and Kathleen's, occasionally get roped into doing something.
Yes, that's true. Jim and Haya?
Hi, I'm Haya Davidson, and besides being involved with Scott and his group, I also have the ACLU People Power for Farmington and Farmington Hills, and we'll be meeting a week from tomorrow in afternoon. And with the speaker, I forgot her name, but she's the new executive director of ACLU of Michigan. So
Lauren.
that should be a good meeting. And Jim is my partner in crime.
All right. Well, let's see. I see Karen Bartos.
I am Karen. I've been with the People Power group in Farmington Hills, and I come to this meeting too. And also I did a lot with VNP petition drive and a little bit of voter registration. So that's it.
Excellent. Lynn?
Hi, I'm Lynn Muth. I live in Royal Oak. Been active with People Power, VNP, and the other type of work I do is art and working with small groups on anti-racism work.
I think I got everybody. All
I
right.
can say where I'm from.
Oh, there you are. Okay. Yeah, please, Carl.
Renaissance Unity, and then through that ACLU, Moses, and today primarily Voters Not Politicians, and Promote the Vote.
Awesome. You're a busy man.
things happen.
Yeah. All right. With that, I'm going to move to Julie. Julie, you want to talk about your reproductive freedom for all?
Yes, thank you. Okay, hi everyone. Just to complete the introductions, I'm Julie Fabam. I've been involved with People Power, I don't know, 2018, something like that.
At least.
Yeah, at least maybe before, and a number of other organizations as well, like most of you. Okay, so yes, I'm going to talk about the Reproductive Freedom for All ballot initiative. As you all know, there's about a zillion ballot initiatives right now, all of them super important. So I'm going to talk about this one. Really, we could all do all of them, none of them. There's a lot to choose from. So I'm going to talk briefly about what it is, because I'm learning that there's a lot of confusion about what this really is. And how to get involved if you want to get involved. So some of you may already know most or all of this, but bear with me, I'll keep it short. So as you may know, the Supreme Court is going to rule most likely in June on Dobbs v. Jackson's Women's Health. Big surprise, the Supreme Court is expected to rule in favor of upholding the Mississippi law that bans abortion at 15 weeks or at pre-viability. So this is significant for a couple of reasons. One, it means abortion would become illegal at the pre-viability stage, which is exactly what Roe v. Wade was on the other side. It was pre-viability, the patient and their doctor could make their choice. So that's kind of a big deal and not very good for reproductive justice across the United States. In Michigan, it's extremely significant because there is an old law on the books from 1931 in Michigan that outlaws abortion in this state. So if the Supreme Court rules as expected, it's quite likely that abortion could become illegal in this state. And any doctor who performs an abortion for any reason, like there's a stillborn or a miscarriage, pre-viability, could face a prison term of up to 15 years. So it's a big deal. So the ACLU Michigan, in conjunction with Planned Parenthood and Michigan Voices, is heading up a ballot initiative. We need to collect 425,059 signatures to get the issue to qualify for the ballot. And as you probably all know, we need 51% of the vote to remove the law. The nice thing about this law is it would then become part of the Michigan Constitution. So it sort of guarantees the right to reproductive freedom through the Michigan Constitution. Sort of thereby guaranteeing that a person and their doctor, rather than law and government, would determine the best medical decision. But the really important part of this, or not the really, one of the important parts of this that people don't know, because everybody sort of zeroes in on the abortion piece, is it also guarantees other pieces of reproductive freedom. For example, the right to birth control, the right to prenatal care, childbirth care, miscarriage treatment, all the other reproductive pieces that we don't think about, that aren't, political hot potatoes. So it's kind of a big deal. So before I move into what the ACLU is doing and ways that you can get involved if you want to, are there any questions? I'm finding that people think it's about Uber drivers and whether or not they're going to be prosecuted, and there's all kinds of confusion because there's so much stuff out there. Are there any questions about what this actually is that I can try and answer before I move into how to get involved if you want to?
Hi, Julie. This is a general question because I just don't know. I assume it's, let's try not to be all fragmented here. But to your point about like being kind of a hot potato issue with people, And I like that it's covering all the aspects of reproductive health, because no one wakes up and says, oh, I want to have an abortion today. But they do wake up and say, I don't want to have a baby today.
That's correct.
And I don't want my teenager to have a baby, and I don't want this, and I don't want that. So what is the opposition like in our state? Is it vehement? Is this something like if I got involved, it's targeted? Because I'm just terrified of those people in the corner with the abortion limbs all over the place,
Right. So that's a really good question, and it's a big question. So if I don't answer it all, tell me. But a couple of things. So the initiative is sort of twofold, right? So I'm going to get into this. We need 425,000 signatures, 59 signatures, probably more than that, because they'll throw out a lot of them by July. That's the first part. The second part of this initiative is going to be educating voters to actually vote on this. The ACLU, Planned Parenthood, Michigan Voices, they did a ton of research, and they are quite sure they can get the signatures, that is not an issue. This is like a $2.5–3 million campaign in which nobody was going to invest if they couldn't get the signatures. So they're pretty sure about that. The second part of your question is how safe is, there's a lot of energy around this. So how do you do this safely, which I'm going to talk about in a second, in terms of how do we get signatures and how do we go about this. But they are extremely confident that getting the signatures is not going to be an issue. So yeah, so that's good. Does that answer the question? It's kind of a really big question.
Yeah, no, I'm really thrilled, because I just, oh my God, going out and getting those signatures. I mean, I have not a hard enough time. Certainly I care about voters, not politicians, or voting access, but this is such a thorny issue, and unless you've got it targeted, it's kind of.
So let me talk about how to target it, because that's a really, really excellent point. And to your point, so the ACLU has asked me to be a regional volunteer coordinator for the Washtenaw County Reproductive Freedom for All, but it's not really Washtenaw County, it's Oakland County. It's kind of a big role. And I said the same thing, like, I'm not going to do this if this is, at risk, but they're very certain that this is going to happen. So, all right, did I answered? Okay, so let me just jump and talk about how you can volunteer if you want to get involved. So let me, as I said, I'm the regional volunteer coordinator. It's such a mouthful. Regional volunteer coordinator for the Washtenaw County ACLU's Reproductive Freedom for All initiative. I have a counterparts in Oakland County and Macomb County throughout the state, and we're building that network. So there's really a lot of overlap. So if you want to work with me from Oakland County or Wayne County, that's fine. If you want me to point you to my counterpart in those counties, that's fine too. But let me talk about how we're going to get involved. So Lynn, to your point, how do you do it and how do you do it safely? There's pretty much 8 different ways that you can get involved. The first thing that you can do is you can attend the ACLU launch party. There are 4 of them. They're happening a week from today, actually, the 19th. There are 4 of them across the ACLU offices. At the ACLU office in Detroit, I'll put the links to sign up in the chat when I'm done. But Detroit, Saginaw, Grand Rapids, and we're doing a launch here in Washtenaw County. It's just not in an ACLU office, it's at a church nearby. At the launch party, there'll be somebody from the ACLU speaking generally about this. We are going to provide a training on how to collect signatures, which there's lots of ways to get training. You don't have to go to the launch party. And then we're going to go out and canvass. So you can participate in the launch party if you want to do that. I guess I'm just going to go from the easiest to the least time intensive and the least involved to the most involved ways to get involved after that. The first and easiest way is just sign the petition, right? So I can get you a petition, you're going to see them sign the petition. The second thing you can do is you can learn how to collect signatures which is not difficult. It would take you about 10 minutes. Most of you have probably already done that before, like knowing that it's a county per page, knowing to use black or blue ink, knowing how to make sure that they're registered. So learn how to collect signatures, and then ask me for a bunch of petitions, or ask my counterpart in Oakland, and we'll send you the petitions, and you can push them out to your family members, to your friends, to your, I got my hair cut yesterday. I push it out to my hairdresser, accost your Target workers, people that are sympathetic to the cause, that it's easy. So you can take these, you can get people to sign them, you can mail them back to me or drop them at a location close to you. It's really an easy way to do this. And to your point, Lynn, a super safe way to do it. That's the second way or third way. The other thing you can do is take these petitions and bring them to organizations that you all are involved in, and either you present there or connect me to that organization. But again, organizations that are sympathetic. So you're not knocking on doors where people are gonna, let their dog loose on you because you use the word, abortion or pro-choice. So, if you want to approach your organizations and have them distribute, or you distribute at the organization, or if you don't want to do any of that, most of you have my email address, but I'll drop it in the chat. Connect me to your organization and I'll talk to them. So these, again, there's enough people. There's so many people that want to sign. We don't have to approach people who are not sympathetic to the cause.
Hey, Julie, I think
Yeah.
Chris Allen's got her hand up.
Go ahead, Chris.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your flow here, but going back to your explanation, thank you for adding in, because I haven't read this petition, but thank you for adding in the fact that there's the other things tied to it, such as birth control, because I don't know if anybody's heard, but all three men who are running for the Republican Attorney General against Dana Nessel have said that they would like to see the Supreme Court decision that allowed a federal right to birth control overturned. And that scares the crap out of me too.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
So thank you for bringing, because I did not know that. And that's a key point, I think, even more so, to like get in, not, once you're past the petition standpoint, but talking to people about why it's important to vote yes. So thank you for that. That's a key point.
Yes, and thank you for highlighting it. So there's a couple of things I'm just going to say on that. To your point, people do not understand that reproductive justice is not about abortion. Abortion takes, depending on how you look at it, it's 2 to 4% of the reproductive freedom initiative. The rest of it is access to birth control, access to health care, prenatal care. It's all of those things. And people don't realize that we're at risk to losing our right to birth control and our right to abortion. So this is a safe space. I'm just going to say, talk about systematic oppression of an entire group of people. What a great way to do it. But besides that, that's medical risk, right? Now you're putting people at medical risk because they can no longer, what if they have healthcare issues and they can't get pregnant and they can't get access to birth control? It just takes the ability to medically manage your reproductive health completely out of your hands. And to your point, one of the best talking points, which is outside the scope of this conversation, is this is what it comes down to. Do you want the patient and the doctor to make this medical decisions about birth control, health care, prenatal care, abortion care, miscarriage care, or do you want the government to legislate it? That's the bottom line. So it's an excellent point, and it's a huge piece of this law. So thank you for saying that. So now I totally lost my train of thought. Where was I? Okay, so Lynn, were you going to say something?
I just wanted to, this is just a really brief thing. This is another talking point. There was a researcher from the UW from Wisconsin, from Madison, where I went to school. He said the #1 indicator of poverty, or when someone's going to go into poverty, is an unplanned pregnancy.
That's correct. And what is it Freakonomics? I can't remember what is the group that does that. They can directly correlate crime, poverty, drug use, pre Roe v. Wade, after Roe v. Wade. I mean, that's a whole nother piece.
That was the original Freakonomics study. You were right.
Freakonomics, that's what it was. Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was. Yeah. Yeah. So okay, so I lost my train of thought. So I was talking about, let me summarize more for myself. So you can sign the petition, you can push it out to friends and family members, carry it with you. So you're not going to door and risking, your your own health, knocking on the wrong door. You can push it out to the organizations that you're involved in. If you don't want to do that, connect me to those organizations and I will push it out to them. The other thing you can do is if you don't, we're all doing so many things. If you feel like you don't have time for this, but you have a sister, a mother, a son, a daughter, other people who would want to get involved in this campaign that that's not you, I'm going to drop my email in the chat. Let me know or give them my email and I will connect with them directly. I think the last thing that's really, if you don't want to do any of it, there's so much to do out there and it's all so important. I know, Christine, you're going to talk about Promote the Vote next, which is like at least as important, if not more important than, there's so many important things. And if you feel like you just don't have the bandwidth for this, just talk to people about it. Let people know that women and people who can birth in this state, they're at medical risk after June, and just tell people about this. Like I said, yesterday I was at the hair salon and here are 5 young women who knew, oh, abortion's fine. They knew nothing about it. Just tell people what's going on so that if nothing else, they tell other people and maybe they vote come November. So those are ways that you can get involved. Before I take any last minute questions, like I said, I'll put the links for the launch in my email in the chat in a second, if I can figure out how to do that. I do want to say, I think Lynn spoke about this earlier. It's a super short turnaround time. I think it's the first week of July in which we have to have all the signatures in to qualify for the ballot. And then of course we pivot to educating people so that they know how to vote. So if Mickey, I know Mickey's must be here, to quote him and give a salute to sailing, it's an all hands on deck situation. So as much help as we can get, I think that's important. So I think I have a couple more minutes. If there's any questions or comments or anything people want to add, like you guys are all know about this as well. So anything I left out, please jump in.
Julie, Kathleen McNellis. I'm wondering, do we have any kind of a white paper or quick bullet points that we could make points to people? I am horrified to hear that not only could we lose the right to having an abortion at any point in time, but that we lose the right to have birth control. Because to what you were saying, as a healthcare provider, not everyone can have or should have a child for physical reasons, for emotional reasons, etc. That is really strong. And for people that think that it's just if they're looking at just that 2 to 3% of what this whole package will entail that we end up losing, that would be bad. So.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. And the answer is yes. So the launch of this program is, the ACLU's launch of this is the 19th. And so you guys all know how this goes. We're building the plane as we're flying it. And so I'm not actually going to have the petitions in my hand until Thursday or Friday. Along with the petitions will come the bullet points, the talking points, and also the instructions, like make sure you use black and blue mark, all of that. So I can shoot that out to you after I get them in the mail. And like I said, there's talking points in terms of how to talk to people about it. And then there's also instructions on how to complete the ballot. So I can definitely get that to you. I'll make a note as soon as I'm done. And if you want ballots, let me know, or I don't know how to do this. Scott, what's the best way? Should you put it, I'm not looking at the chat because I can't even chew gum and talk at the same time. I certainly can't look at the chat. Should people put it in the chat and I can take it down and shoot information out? How should I
I
go
thought you were
about?
going to put the links in the chat.
I'll put the links in the chat and I'll put my email in the chat. And then if you want bullet talking points, if you want to know whatever you want, just email me directly. And
I think that's the way to do it. And then I'll include that in the minutes and all that when I send that out.
Okay, I'll do that in a second.
Karen, you get the last
Yep.
question.
Okay. Now, so this would be an amendment to the state constitution. Does that take priority over what the US Supreme Court says? Or
As I understand it, and it's funny that you say that. So as I understand it, yes, because what will happen is I understand it, and I need to clarify this, but it depends a little bit. I think it's gray because we don't know exactly how they're going to rule, right? So what they're going to rule on most likely is they're going to ban at 15 weeks, which is pre-viability, meaning when a fetus can no longer live on its own outside. If we, as I understand it, and I really need to check this, as I understand it, if that's the ruling and we make an amendment to the Michigan Constitution, that ruling stands in Michigan. That's what people keep telling me. And then I hear other smart people tell me, well, no. And so I got to be honest and tell you, I'm a little confused. What I do know is if that law stands and we don't amend the Michigan Constitution,
right.
then abortion is illegal. So I think a lot of that is still some moving parts, and I'm not a legal expert. What I do know is the Michigan law will stand if the federal law.
So this would take away that Michigan law, because that's just legislation.
That's correct. What we would do is vote off the books, the 1931 law. What will happen, what will go on the ballot is, it's a really extensive. It will remove that 1931 law outlawing abortion outright in the state, and it puts in a bunch of pieces related to reproductive freedom, like we just talked about, access to birth control, access to miscarriage management. It puts in all of these other things, and it puts it in the state constitution. So, you know.
The only thing is if the US Supreme Court rules that they have more priority over state constitution, I don't know how that works.
Yeah, but they're not, I don't think they're creating law is the thing.
They're actually ruling on states' right to create law.
Right.
And if they rule in favor of this 15-week abortion ban, it's saying that Roe v. Wade is not effective because it should be states' rights. And that's why this constitutional amendment, because then in Michigan, we either go with what's on the books or what we put into the Constitution in November.
That's
and as you know, Michigan is right, and we're at high risk because of the way Michigan votes these days, right? So Christine said a lot better than me. Thank you, Christine.
I'm gonna need to move on so that Chris can get up. You got anything else you gotta get out there, Julie?
Last thing is, I appreciate the time. If you have more questions or you know, outside the scope of this, just email me, or probably you have my phone number, call me.
If you have a link to where the ballot language is, I'd like to see that.
I do have it, and I want to
please.
see it too. I don't know that I can put it in the chat because it's embedded in this stuff, but I will send it to you, Christine.
Okay, thanks, I appreciate it.
It's really hard to get a hold of, but I wanted to see it too before I did this, so I'll send it to you.
Thanks.
Chris, you're up.
All right. First of all, thank you very much. And as a point of introduction, Chris Allen, I go by both of those. I've been with VNP since 2018 to help them push the Prop 2 through to fruition. Yay. And then when things kind of got shifting around there, once we got the commission pretty much seated, I switched over to work more with Scott's team with ACL People Power Group to do voter registration. done quite a bit of time on the streets and at events with Julie and Charles and Mickey and Scott. So we've had a lot of fun doing voter registration together. And now I've swung my attention and time back to Voters Not Politicians to help them with their Promote the Vote effort. And is it possible to share my screen?
I think I allowed for that. I think I
Yes, you
turned
did.
that
Thank
on.
you very much. Because it's a short presentation. And I'm going to squish this. So if there's anything, people are going to have to talk up because I've just squished all your pictures away. So I can't see anybody putting their hand up. So holler if you're sticking your hand up. So I'm here to talk about Promote the Vote 2022, which is a lovely picture of letting the people vote from our Prop 2 days. Nice little quote. For elections to be democratic, all adult citizens must be equally able to cast a ballot and have that vote count, which is the big part of it, is having that vote count. There is a coalition. Last meeting, Lauren, when she was talking a little bit about what she's been involved with, talked a little bit about the coalition for the Promote the Vote folks. The ACLU of Michigan, League of Women Voters, Voters Not Politicians. There's a whole series of groups that is slowly being added to the Promote the Vote website. I understand that they have just hired a communications director, and so all of the groups that are now signed up will actually start showing up on their websites. But their bottom line is to making elections secure, modern, and accessible. What is in this constitutional amendment? Basically, providing the U.S. citizens qualified to vote, the rights to. And the big one here is making sure that the voting is a fundamental right in the Michigan Constitution. So above and above around everything is, eliminating trying to eliminate harassment, interference, and intimidation of poll workers and election officials. But next big one is the military overseas ballots. Right now, if they are not here in the clerk's hands by election day, they do not get counted. However, if this goes through, the military would, as long as it is postmarked or marked by whatever mailing system you're using, because it doesn't have to be the U.S. postal system, postmarked by election day and received in the clerk's hands within 6 days, it would still be counted. So it gives them a little bit more leeway for having their ballots counted. Vote after showing photo ID. And this is one that's basically allowing you to use your signature to verify who you are, or vote after showing ID and signing a legal document. Right now in our election law, this is the way it is. And so basically it's taking the US or the Michigan election law and saying, instead of election law, let's put this into the Constitution, because we know that most people do have IDs. Most people are using their IDs when they go to vote in person. We just want to make sure that instead of doing something different, like Secure My Vote is looking at making it, you have to vote provisional at that point, which means it doesn't get counted on election day until, and you wouldn't be able to count it until you go and see your clerk again. What you do today is, if you don't have your ID, you sign a legal document verifying who you are. And as long as you don't have any flags in the system saying that, hey, you definitely have to show your ID for whatever reason, they don't have a signature on file, then you can go ahead and vote, and your vote is counted that day, right then and there. You feed it through the tabulator. Applying to vote absentee in every election and submit an absentee ballot using secure official drop boxes or state funded postage. One of the things that this will do is allow for voters to request a ballot for all elections and being on a permanent absentee ballot list, so that instead of having to apply for them, you actually get a ballot. This is done in many, many states already who have absentee ballots allowed. And it's a couple of states I know in Colorado, they just, if you are a registered voter, they send you a ballot. And because they don't do voting in person at all, they do it all by mail. So we would have that right here in Michigan. Also, in submitting the absentee ballot through secure official drop boxes, we would, in this petition, in this proposal, we guarantee funding for absentee ballots drop boxes. And it basically says in every community, you will have a drop box that is monitored 24 hours a day. And it is secure in a good location. They are also requiring that for communities with over 15,000 people, you have one drop box per 15,000 people. So the city of Detroit would have to have drop boxes scattered throughout the city, just like they did back in 2020. Smaller communities, I vote in Southfield Township. I think we've got about 15,000 voters or less. We would have one drop box. We do today. It's okay. We all live within 3 miles of the clerk's office where the drop box is. And it is 24 hours a day. So it's just making sure that drop boxes are more accessible. Secure accountable audits by election officials. And this is making sure that the audits are done by people that we have elected or who are employed by the election officials to actually do the audits, not third parties, no cyber ninjas, that these are, there's a chain of control on all of the ballots by people who are election officials and not handed over to third party places. Voting in person 9 days before the election. This one is huge because there's, I think, 22 or 23 states that already do early voting. And this is voting where you actually walk in, not with an absentee ballot, but you actually walk into your clerk's office and you fill out your ballot and you feed it through a tabulator. Now, yes, you have to make sure that that tabulator is not being broadcasted out to, the results are not being broadcasted outside the office of the clerk. But I mean, we have to do that today. As a poll worker myself, I sign something every time I work that poll that says I will not talk about any kind of election results prior to handing off all of the ballots at the end of the day. So it's the same kind of thing. It's just you'd have to hold your tongue for 9 days to know what's going on. But this would really benefit people because this encompasses starting the second weekend before the election, including the weekend just before the election. And you'd have to have a minimum of 8 hours per day for those 9 days. And those, you can expand those times and you don't have to have them at a given time, but you have to have a minimum of 8 hours a day. Public disclosure of charitable in-kind donations to pay for elections and audits. This is something that we make sure, currently we allow charitable and in-kind donations. This is making sure that all of those public disclosures are out there as to who's behind those in-kind donations, who's behind those charitable donations. Right now, there are 2 communities in the state of Michigan who only use churches because they're smaller communities and they don't have a town hall or a large city clerk's office that would allow for voting to be done there. So they use churches. If another petition has their way, those churches would not be allowed to donate their space at all. And so what this says is churches and schools can still give this in-kind donation of their space for the elections and the audits. It just has to be publicly noted. St. John's Episcopal Church is donating their location for Royal Oak to do their elections in, things like that. No problem. It's just making it more transparent who's making those in-kind donations. Personally, again, this is one near and dear to my heart because the very nice pastor at the church where I do my poll working, he makes a pot of coffee for people in the morning, and then in the afternoon, he brings out little sun chip bags or potato chip bags, and it's kind of nice to have a little treat from the locals. So those would all be still legal, and we just have to say, hey, we got these things coming in. And then the other one is the election results certified by the Board of Canvassers, based solely on the fact that they have the votes coming in from the clerks that are, signed by the clerks. And they would have very tight restrictions on the fact that they can't just say, I don't think this is right. I think we need to do audits, blah, blah, blah. Clarifying that their job is to certify what the clerks put in front of them. So that's the last big item on here. Our timeline, February 11th, the Board of State Canvassers meeting was approved the 100-word petition summary. And so we are working toward bringing on board circulators. Right now, we've got over 13,000 people signed up to be circulators. Some of them are micro circulators. Some of them are full-blown circulators who will be out at, out in the public looking for signatures. And we're still going through the training phase. We're hoping to have by April 1st, 2,000 active circulators. I know right now that the ballots are in the hands of our supply people, and our supply person is going to be unloading them at her location tomorrow, and I have a supply courier picking them up. So I will have petitions starting on Tuesday afternoon. So we are really gearing up. We are really close, and looking forward to handing those out to as many of you as are interested. Obviously, like Julie said, deadline to submit 425,059 valid signatures to Secretary of State is July 11th. So obviously before July 11th is when we have to have all of our signatures handed in. So what do you do next? Sign up to circulate the petitions. Go to promotethevote2022.com and choose take action. There's also the vnp.vote/volunteer, and you can sign up that way. We need field coordinators in a few parts of the states, but not locally. Right now, we are very happy to know that we've got enough field coordinators in our part of the state. But we are still looking for some help with team leading and helping move things around the Oakland County area. There's some folks that still need a little bit of help with that. Anyway, so that's what's going on, and that's what you can do to help. And I'm going to stop sharing. Is there anybody with a hand up or questions? I see Julie.
This is great. Can you hear me? Did I unmute? Okay. This is awesome. My question is, so I know one thing that's great about VNP is they're very organized and they have a really great system, which is awesome. What I'm wondering is, for somebody like me who's heading up this other initiative, can I get ballots and take them with me, or petitions, sorry, not ballots, that would be bad. Petitions and take them with me and sign, have people sign, get trained and have people sign while I'm doing the repro one, or do I have to go and sign up with VNP and go where they go to do it?
Let me explain what VNP's point of view is. And this partially is because we're working with a coalition. And so it's not really coming from VNP. I understand it's coming more from Promote the Vote, is that they're asking our circulators to not circulate some of these, the other ballot petitions, because especially things like reproductive rights might turn people off. And so they are asking our circulators to not, however, that said,
I understand that, but that, leaves me.
But that said, I do know that there will be micro circulators, who are people going to their friends and families that will be carrying both or more. And the thing is, we can't stop someone from doing that, especially at a micro circulator level. But I know that Promote the Vote would prefer that we not be carrying other ballot proposals for signature.
That makes sense. So is it the same? I do the take action, what you said, if I wanted to get involved in that?
Right.
Or?
Yeah. yeah, because there's besides VNP, there's a lot of other organizations, particularly close to you that, are going to be carrying these. League of Women Voters everywhere will have the petitions, around here, Femmes for Dems is carrying the Promote the Vote petitions. So there's a lot of organizations that are
True.
planning on carrying our petitions. And I don't know what their policies will be about carrying multiple petitions. I just know that VNP has asked us to tell our circulators, please only carry the Promote the Vote. Now, if other people, if you want to do an hour at the Oakland, the Royal Oak Farmers Market and do an hour of Promote the Vote and then put that away and then do an hour of freedom of reproductive rights or anything else, you can always do that too. And I think I know some people that I've talked to that will be doing that sort of thing, where they will be trading off and going back and forth because they are interested in carrying more than one petition.
Yeah, got it. Okay, thank you.
Lynn, did you have a question? Oh, okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Scott, did you have a question about the?
Yeah, I've got, well, two things. Chris, if you could make sure you send me that presentation and then I'll send it out with the minutes.
Okay.
That was one. If you drop the link into the chat, I think it would be useful for some people right now in terms of take action. You just pull it off of the slide and throw it in there or however you want to do it. And then my question was, I was surprised to see the audit thing on there because I was pretty involved with Prop 3 and I thought that Prop 3 got the audits embedded into the Constitution as it was. And so I was wondering why they were adding it again, or was I mistaken that it wasn't in Prop 3?
They're doing it's more of a clarification, I think.
Okay.
I reread this yesterday.
Because what we had done in Prop 3,
so what Prop 3 said is the right to have the results of statewide election audited in such a manner as prescribed by law to ensure the accuracy and integrity of the elections. So that part was added in by Promote the Vote, 2018. This one is adding the Secretary of State shall conduct election audits and shall supervise and direct county election officials in the conduct of such audits. No officer or member of the governing board of national, state, or local political party, and no political party precinct delegate, blah, 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 blah. So they're making it a little more clear that it's not to be partisan people involved in this. It's just the elected officials. So it cleans up what was left as a little bit of an open-ended thought. So yeah, the elections are in there, or the audits are in there. It's just now we're saying it has to be done by elected officials.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I don't think anybody in 2018 could imagine what was going to happen in 2020.
No, probably not.
Okay. Anybody else with questions? No? Going once, going twice.
All right. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, you can always reach out to me through Scott, or I can put my email in the chat as well.
Either way.
Okay.
Either way works. Mickey, I think you're up next. Oh, now you wanted me to share that slide. So let me go back to sharing screen. Okay, Mickey, it's yours.
Oh, okay. Is the, okay, no, you don't have to worry about sharing. I don't have the slide, but that's okay. You can leave it this way. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. And when Charles says, when you vote, I win, that is a mighty powerful statement. So is The right to vote is your right to all your other rights. Voting rights have been what all of us have been doing for at least the last 5 years. That's why everyone is here today, voting rights. And I'm speaking solely as a voting rights advocate right now, and I'm representing the GOTV-MI effort we created to support initiatives that expand, strengthen, and enhance our sacred right to vote. To further that effort, Scott rebuilt our gotvmi.org website with Charles to laser focus on Charles' fabulous initiative to motivate already registered voters to get out to vote. So here's the thing. By now, all of us know there are 2 anti-democracy petitions out there using a loophole in the Michigan Constitution that would, if passed, effectively silence the voice of the people. One is designed to drive down voting, and the other is designed to have the potential to throw out our votes entirely. These 2 anti-democracy initiatives must be defeated using every tool in our toolbox. We now are also aware there are 3 petitions out there that expand, strengthen, and enhance voting. Those are proposed constitutional amendments that will make legislative mischief much more difficult. One petition will adopt that any proposed law limiting the right to vote shall require the strictest judicial scrutiny by requiring that such law be necessary and narrowly tailored to achieve a compelling state interest. But these 3 petitions need to get on the ballot and then get voted in. And one of them, Citizens Initiative Reform, will eliminate that loophole entirely of petitions being signed by roughly 8% of voters and going directly to the state legislature. While there is some overlap in what they are seeking, these 3 all have enough great aspects to them that they all deserve to win. I'm not picking a side among the 3. I can't, because they are all on the same side, voter protection. I'm supporting them all. I want my energy spent advocating for voting rights and against voter suppression and anti-democracy. Lastly, at the top, I mentioned, when you vote, I win. In his talks, Charles says, if somebody says they want to steal your car, you will put an alarm on your car. Well, the alarm has sounded, and I'm in support of all measures that protect voting rights. For legitimate organizational reasons, which Chris went through, we can't do PTV and MRTV simultaneously. But when I wanted to become a Dem election challenger and ask, would it harm my nonpartisan status, I was told, when doing it, just don't wear your nonpartisan hat. If on your own time you work to make sure all votes are counted, you will be doing an important thing. And besides, this is still a free country. So in continuation of that guidance, I'm supporting all 3 voting rights petitions, but doing it at separate times, like Chris just suggested, to avoid any possible organizational concerns, because my sole loyalty and my sole passion is to protect the right to vote and to keep this a free country. And thank you all for listening. And if you have any questions, just fire away.
I guess I'm wondering, Mickey, if you partnered up with like, let's say you and I went out to some location and then you had one petition and I had the other. I mean, wouldn't that be following the rules? And yet we'd both be able to hit people who are interested in voting with both petitions at the same time?
Well, with Charles' permission, I will say that he and I have talked about what I have been calling Brother Love's Travel and Salvation Show, where he speaks and has petitions and I speak and have positions. Thank you for the thumbs up, Charles. yes, we are talking about doing that,
Okay,
where if we have a group, nothing prevents us each going to bat and taking our own swings.
okay, okay. So we could kind of like partner up, and then where we can get an audience together that is interested in voting, then we can have different speakers representing the different viewpoints, and but then they can see it all at the same time. I think that's the way to go.
And there are groups that are really on board with this, because I have a VNP gig where it's a round table, and the topics blended perfectly with Charles' initiative. And when I asked the moderator if Charles could join in, he leaped at the chance. So there is a hunger for all of this. And I see Fred with his hand up. Yes, Fred.
No, I was just going to say that my right to vote has no restrictions on people holding 5 or 6 petitions that they feel strongly about, reproductive rights for all, raise the wage. There are a lot of great petitions out there. And if you're an octopus and can do 8 hands with 8 petitions, more power to you.
Thank you for that, Fred. Chris.
And just an FYI for people, I think that as we go forward, we probably need to be making sure that when we get to the educational standpoint, we need to have panel discussions on all of them, because there are a lot of really good proposals outside of the voting rights things. And I've already talked to the director for the senior center that I go to, and we've got a meeting that we'll be setting up later in May, so that we can have like a panel discussion, so that people can come and they would have all the, it's probably going to have to be more than one night, because there's so many ballot proposals, but have like all the voting right and, kind of lump them together, these petitions, so that people can understand what they are, so we can get the, the request for, why you need to vote yes on these things. So I think that we probably, as activists, probably want to start looking at doing that more as we get into the phase of, okay, we've got the signatures, let's educate people as to how they're voting and why they're voting. Because I think that's going to be important. And if anybody hasn't seen I forgot to mention earlier, the Bridge Magazine ballot tracker.
Yeah.
Bridge Magazine started several months ago. They had one article that had the ballots to date and short summaries, who's supporting, who's opposing, and what they are. And I have been updating that, including last week when they put the term limits, freedom of information ballot out there. So I know that they're keeping that up. And so if anybody has questions about ballots and how many ballot proposals there are out there being circulated for signatures, I find that that's a very nice, succinct article to show people or point them to, so that they understand how many ballots are out there and what is going on to protect our rights.
I also love that article. I'm wondering if there's some third-party entity that can be collecting up these speaking engagements, and as far as showing other people the opportunity to join in at any one gathering. Is there any talk about that at all yet? I know it's a little early in the process, but it would seem like that would be useful. Like, for instance, if I found out that there's this group of people that want to hear about the Promote the Vote ballots or petition, then we could also then say, oh, would you be interested in other things to those organizers? And they would say yes, then we could then spread it around. Or it seems like there'd be an opportunity here to do that.
Scott?
Yeah.
While there isn't it sounds like what you're talking about is a central booking agent.
Yeah.
Which would be a great idea. Somebody, Chris is laughing. It would be a great idea. My plan so far is anytime I'm speaking and on the behalf of VNP, I asked to see if Charles can join in. That's why I said specifically today, I'm representing GOTV. Because if I had an event as GOTV, I would ask Chris and Fred and Charles, do you guys want to come? I can do that. And then it's their choice to join or not. So, and when I was speaking to the moderator of the event in Rochester Hills, Leadership for Democracy, I asked about Charles. The VNP is there, League of Women Voters is there, now Charles. I thought about having Fred there. I may ask him if Fred is willing. I just don't know if the conflict would be too great because League of Women Voters and VNP are two of the heavyweights in Promote the Vote. Chris, what do you think? Does it pay? It pays, I know it pays, but would it be too big a conflict if we also asked if Fred could be there to talk about his initiative? Or Kathy, I don't want to step on toes, but I don't want to leave anybody out either.
I think it depends on who's organizing things, right? I know that when I approached the director at Next, I know from the Prop 2 days, when I wanted to do a Prop 2 discussion there and bring a presenter there, she said, well, we have to invite anyone who's opposed to it so that it becomes a panel discussion. So there are some places that will not allow one voice to come in unless you're bringing in the other voices. So I know, that's why I was talking with this woman, Chris, she said, yeah, we could invite all of them together. So at that point, it becomes her, my request to do a presentation there bounces back as a, yes, but we will also be doing this. So it really comes down to, from my perspective on this, not my coming in and saying, hey, we want all of us to come and talk. It's a chance of saying, hey, we want an opportunity to speak. They come back and say, it needs to be more of a panel discussion with the competing or opposing and go from there. Carl, did you have a question?
Fred, just give me 1 second to answer Chris. Chris, my first contact with this group was someone who works for the Democrat Party. So I don't know that they would have that same restriction. All I can do is ask if Fred is willing, but he had something he wanted to say.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I welcome joining and having a discussion with Voters Not Politicians, League of Women Voters, the entire coalition. It's a free marketplace of ideas, and people should hear all the ideas.
Right. It's not going to be a debate format, though. Right. So what it is the moderator sent me 4 questions. I'll read them real quick so the group is in on it. What is happening to voting rights across the country? What is the Michigan legislature trying to do on voting rights? Could you speak to your efforts on voting rights in Michigan? And what is it we all can do to strengthen voting rights? So I don't want the groups to be competing. I want us just to all be playing a position on what Coach Hank Stram so famously said in the Super Bowl, keep the ball matriculating down the field. That's what we want to do. We want to matriculate voting rights down the field, not compete with each other, if that makes sense. We're all good.
I'm going to be running out of time here. I want to get, I want
Mickey.
Carl to get the last question in.
So this is a great discussion, and I'm working with Charles quite a bit. When I vote, you win. or when you vote, I win. And what's coming up is issue campaigns. It's the why people vote. It's not only do we need the voter turnout, we need to create the motivation, the purpose, the spirit of why people go to vote. Because we're talking about potentially doubling turnout in Detroit. Now, that's not just voting rights, that's going beyond, way beyond, and having a real personal interest in the vote. So it's a great discussion. And ballot initiatives are part of the reason why people vote. And it goes beyond that as well. I see when you vote, I win as catalyst for this initiative, for the issues of why people vote. I think it'd be a tremendous phase to voter turnout. Not only voting rights, but voter turnout. We want to move the dial. We want more people voting.
Scott, can I impose upon you to have Karen ask her question or make her comment? She'd be the last one. Can we impose on you?
Yeah, that'll work.
I'll make it quick. I think all these groups have to put their big boy pants on and put principles above personalities. I don't like the idea of voters coming into an event and feeling like they're coming in the middle of a conversation or an argument that they don't understand and they don't want any part of, because they will walk away. They'll say, these people don't have anything. So principles above personalities. That's my comment.
Awesome. All right, so I need to move on. Let me get I want to share the desktop and get this.
Oh, you're pulling it up. I can switch back to my other device. I know we talked about that, but
Well,
go ahead.
which way do you want to go, Guy? I don't care.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So let me see if this will work.
Okay, well, pulling that up. What he's pulling up is hello, everybody. I didn't get the introduction part at the beginning, so don't know me. Yeah, he tried to leave me out, but that's okay. I don't get my feelings hurt often, but easily. Anyway, my name is Charles Thomas, and I am a member of People Power, Southfield, League of Women Voters of Detroit, Voters Access for All Coalition, and all the things that go along with that. And I have been doing this GOTV work, oh boy, I think since 2017. Anyway, as you all know, I have started a voter turnout campaign, understanding that, as I say all the time when I talk about this work, that the largest capture in the voting space are those that are registered to vote and are not voting. And we understand that those that are not registered, for the most part, will be captured by the Secretary of State when they engage with them. Now, with all of the issues that have been discussed today to this point, they all have the one thing in common, the ballot. And so, as Julie said in her presentation, 51% is really what it boils down to. And if we can't pull that and get those persons to the ballot to exercise their vote in favor of things that are favorable to them, then we have failed in all of our efforts. And so I'm focusing on voter turnout and getting out the vote. Do you have that, Scott?
I got the slide. I've got the website up. I'm not sure which web page you want.
You can go to the main page, but if you're sharing, it's not showing.
It's not showing? I thought it was.
It's not. It is not.
Okay.
I can try. I'll have to switch to my phone to do it, but let me switch.
I thought I had started the sharing. Oh, here. You see it now?
Yeah.
It's a great shot.
Can you see am I sharing now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, I was muted. But for those of you who have not had a chance to do it, this is what the gotvmi.org webpage looks like. And you'll see at the top it says dedicated to the full participation in the franchise of democracy. Beneath, with Martin Luther King standing over the shoulder of LBJ as the Voting Rights Act is signed. There's also a radio button. If you could tap on that, Scott, that says, I'm not sure what it says. It's too small for me to see right now on my phone. But this is where people can go to sign up. This is the bottom line. We have to get people to the ballot. We have to get them to exercise their vote. And so this is the work that I'm involved in, and I'm looking for everybody to get involved in. Again, none of our initiatives will be successful if our constituency does not vote. And so there's three things that I have started as, that will be conversed upon and refined, but three things I'm asking people to do right now. First thing is go to the website and sign up, gotv.org, gotvmi.org, sign up. All you're doing is signing up saying, I'm committing to voting and I'm committing to going out and get a certain number of other people to vote as well. Now, I'll say also, the space that we're speaking in right now is the space that we have to get the conversation beyond. And so what I'm looking for people to commit to do is talk to people who either they know are not voting or they believe are not voting, and speak to them based upon where their issues are. You know that what their issues are and what's personal to them more than I do. I have outlined 4 specific things that are pretty innocuous to my mind that focus in on the disenfranchised communities, which are reform when it comes to the legal system, the better schools, better housing, and a living wage. Those 4 things, because I understand, and I'm saying what everybody already knows, is that there is a deep correlation between the disenfranchised and the ones that are not participating in the process. And so go on, sign up on the website, and then I want you to amplify the message. Use everything that's on there. There's several resources, and Scott helped me with this. He put it together. It helped me. He did it. There's several resources on the website as well. I don't know if Scott can switch to that page, but they include a voter turnout call to action. It includes the video, for those of you that didn't get a chance to see it, that I did with my aunts when I interviewed them to try to build off of their experience on the bridge and adopting language like activating new activists and enlisting new foot soldiers, with the idea of not marching on the bridge at this point, but marching to the polls and taking other people there with you. There's also a copy of the flyer that is being used for the campaign. And again, the title, When You Vote, I Win, was chosen for a specific reason, and that is to move voting from the broad space to the personal space, and so that we can engage in personal conversations with people that we know. And the first thing that happens when people read that title is it creates questions. The first time I presented it, somebody asked me, "Are you running for something?" And I said, "No, I'm running from more things at this stage in life that I am running towards." I really, that's not what I'm doing. But understand, if that title creates a question, then that flyer has done exactly what it is to do. That's what it's for, to initiate and start a conversation, and then engage in the conversation with people that you know personally, and engage with them according to what you know are their personal issues. But again, it is a focus on the disenfranchised communities, because those are the ones that are suffering the most, as well as not participating. They're participating the least. And so go on, sign up, amplify the message using all of the tools that are there, and then enlist new activists. Understand, with the conversation being, you are an activist when you cast your ballot and get others to do so as well. That's what the campaign is about in a nutshell. We are also in the process of building a team that somebody spoke about. I think, it was Dennis, the bearded one. It was Dennis that said he's looking forward to coming and being one of the people that go out and help spread the message. That team is being put together as we speak, with a meeting coming up this week. But this is where we are. these are things that have been done, and this is what we're on the way to. And I just believe that all of us have this interest. I don't care what your issue statement is, what your petition is, what we all have this interest. We got to get our constituency to the polls. So that's the effort that I'm engaged in. Any questions? Good. I gave Scott his 10 minutes. So
Yeah,
thank you all.
Sure did.
Thank you all for listening. And I look forward to seeing your names on the webpage, and I'll get you whatever you need in order to make this happen.
Thank you, Charles. All right. Hopefully we're going to end a couple minutes early then. So first I wanted to point out that, thank you. I know a lot of you saw that I had asked for some money. We were looking for some seed money to help with the creation of this game. And next thing I knew, I had $1,500, which is amazing and wonderful. So I'm planning on presenting this kind of a graph as I did when we had money in 2020, so that you know what's still sitting in the bank and what's been spent. I am hoping, Charles and I have agreed to give out $25 to anybody who will talk to us in these focus groups that we want to create or get going to help feed stories into this game that I've been talking about. So let me talk about where we're at with the game, because it's kind of exciting. The guys in California who are going to create the game have some significant contacts. One of them is with the Netflix VP for gaming. They're about ready to talk to him because we've got a deck now that we've created that I won't show to you guys today, but I could show in a future time. And also they know the founder of Move On, who is got money to spend on this kind of stuff. And so they're going to be talking to him also. They also have a connection to a group called 21 Sports Entertainment Marketing Group, who finds money for these kinds of things. Charles and I spoke to a gentleman named Buzz Thomas. Some of you might remember him from when he was in the state legislature here in Michigan. He now has Thomas Consulting Group, and he was the guy, and his organization was the organization that was funneling the $12 million to the clerks for the 2020 election. So we had a discussion with him just this past week, and he's willing to help now in going back to those contacts and other people that he works with to try and get the money. He's got some suggestions on how to change the deck. So I might have something to say about this in April. We started down the path also of grant writing. You might remember we need $1 million to make this happen. So that's what we're talking about. And that's a daunting process, I found. When you're talking about trying to pull together $1 million, there's not every organization is interested in supporting voting rights. Not every organization has 100 or 300,000 or $500,000 to give away, especially on what is kind of on short notice. We kind of need the money by the end of this year to start flowing. And we're going to be building the game next year, as I've told you. So that's where that's at. I haven't heard anything from Lauren, which is kind of disappointing, frankly. I know that Jessica's tried to, was going to talk to her over the past couple of weeks, and I don't know if that happened and then I just haven't heard, or there's no help coming from that direction. We'll find out. We've reached out to the Detroit clerk's office, Erica Parisman, from you folks who know her. Reached out to her contacts within the clerk's office and gave us an introduction. We reached out as a follow-up, but we haven't heard anything there. I had a meeting yesterday with a lawyer who's going to put me in contact with some other people who specialize in nonprofit work, because this money, once it starts to flow for the gaming, needs to come through an organization. So I need to create one. So I'm going to do that. And I reached out to Midwest Academies. Some of you have been around long enough to know I was had the honor of being sent to California by the ACLU to take class for a week on activist training, and it was taught by a woman here at Midwest Academy. And I thought she'd be great if she would be so full of stories about organizing and all of that could be fed into the game. So I reached out to her, but I haven't heard back yet on that. And then Rod Montz and Rose, the woman who Charles knows, who already we've interviewed her and fed her stories into the game creation guys. And then she said that she would try and reach out and get more people in her community to talk to us. And Charles, did Rod say he would do this, or I can't remember now?
Rod said it's already done.
Oh, it's already done. Okay, so we just need to get the meetings together. Okay, cool. Late breaking news. Okay, so that's all the stuff happening there. I'm encouraged. I think this is it keeps rolling, which is kind of shocking to me with something of this magnitude. But it's still happening. So maybe we'll see it come to fruition. Okay, I have a couple of minutes. Does anybody have anything they want to throw into the mix in the last couple of minutes, or should we just close off? Going once, going twice. Thank you
Next
very
time I'm
much.
gonna take that 2 minutes next time, but you
All
all
right.
have a good day.
Yeah, I'm really surprised.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank
you.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Thank you,
great week,
everyone.
great
Take
month.
care.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.